What's up, and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. My name is Patrick Sheehan. I am here with my co-host. He's on his island in the sun shit. Shout out Weezer, Dave Martinson. What's going on, man?
Yo, what's good, Sonny?
So, I just saw you yesterday, Dave.
Great day.
It was a pretty good day. Although we didn't get the result we wanted. The Red Sox lost. Dave was gracious enough to bring me to a Red Sox game. We got to see some live baseball on a Sunday afternoon. Always fun. And your Yankees, dude, going for it. Sonny Gray.
Damn right.
The next Andy Pettit.
Facts. Damn right. They didn't give up any of their best prospects, in most people's opinions. So I was pretty good haul, put it that way.
Yeah, it seemed like a pretty good trade for them. Red Sox got Addison Reed, so we're gonna probably get the second wild card and lose in the first rounds.
You literally said yesterday, I don't want effing Addison Reed.
Yeah, and then I get my boy, so I should probably be more careful when I talk like that.
Buy the jersey now.
So we're gonna jump right into it because we have a lot to touch on, including some movies, some music, but everybody's talking about an awesome episode 3 of Game of Thrones. Very plot heavy.
Queen's Justice.
Yes, Cersei had a big episode, but who did you think won the week?
Oh, well, is it Euron again?
It could be. Yeah.
Because, I mean, getting credit for what he pulled off at the end of the last episode when he, captured Ilaria and Yara, not so much, but the fact that he just showed up to Castle Rock and started destroying Grey Worm ships, I think Euron's doing pretty good. Also, fast boats, because going from King's Landing all the way around to Castle Rock, that's all the way around the continent. I love these fast boats. I love this quick passage of time that we're having on this season. It's pretty funny.
And not only fast boats, but how quickly they were built. He has a whole armada, and they built it in like a month.
On islands with no trees.
Crazy. Amazing.
Magic.
I actually thought Tyrion had a really good week. Even though his battle plan seems to be slowly falling apart, the way that he's kind of playing in between Jon Snow and Dany, which I thought was probably the best scene of the whole show, or yesterday was a whole episode, was seeing them interact. I thought Tyrion, big episode for him. So,
yeah, it's funny. I think at the start of the season, Daenerys is like, we're gonna have so much winning, you're just gonna get sick of winning. And now, she just fired her second comms director. So
she can do it all on her own, man. She doesn't need anybody. So Game of Thrones, I mean, it's interesting. All the critics got the first 3 episodes, so now they're moving into territory that nobody has seen. And there's... Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't know they gave out screeners again. They had previously withheld them after the first 4 episodes got leaked, I believe, of season 5.
Yeah, I saw Seppenwall said he got the first 3. So, and everybody else got 3, I guess, if you're like a major critic. So it'll be interesting to see how the season goes from here. Seems like there's a lot of different storylines. I didn't do the death pool. How'd you do in that?
I did good. I had a Tyene stand first, and she got poisoned. I thought that was an obvious one. The mother revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Olenna, though, did not see Olenna going out quite this fast, but Diana Riggs, great presence on the show. Just like Charles Dance's Tywin, they've had a lot of great older actors. So tough to see her go.
Dropping bombs.
Makes sense.
Just dropping bombs on the way out. So
mm-hmm.
Yeah, shout out Olenna. But Benioff and Weiss, they've already announced what their next project post Game of Thrones on HBO is going to be. It's a show called Confederate. Why don't you educate the people on what this show is going to be about?
Yeah. So we had talked about it a few weeks ago, Soundcloud.com/Nowstalgia Pod, about how Benioff and Weiss were not going to be involved with the several, I believe it's 4 Game of Thrones spin-off shows that will be coming once the final season airs. But in the meantime, Benioff and Weiss are not abandoning TV by any stretch. They really have the pick of whatever they want to do, right? But they're keeping it in the HBO family and doing this show called Confederate. It's basically a alternate history show where the South won the Civil War. slavery continued, similar to Man in the High Castle when the Nazis won the World War II. Won the World War II. So as you can imagine, and if you've seen hashtag No Confederate by now, there's a bit of a backlash for making a show with, blatant racism and just slavery on TV.
Right.
A lot of people the wrong way, the tastefulness of the show. On the other hand, you'll see that people say that, why do you want to censor anything? Just don't, watch it. And I see both sides to that. I do think it's kind of like bad taste, and in general, like in today's political climate, it seems like kind of a bad idea, even if the show is definitely not even close to being imminent, because Game of Thrones itself has another season that might take 2 years to come out. So I think it is kind of tough to be so rough on it right now, but it also doesn't seem like the best idea.
I agree. First of all, not friend of the show, Adam Mahalik, and I had the idea of alternate timelines, things where like history events went different ways, even way before Man the High Castle or any of this stuff came out. So I feel like we're owed a portion of the.
Well, Malcolm Gladwell took your idea and made a great podcast out of it called Revisionist History. So
yeah,
but missed your window.
It's not even like revisionist history. That if you listen to the podcast, only a couple of them really look at like what would have happened otherwise.
Right.
But I mean, I think the main thing I encourage people to think about with this is that, I can understand that the premise is upsetting to people. It's a really sensitive subject, and they're going to have to be very careful in the way that they portray it. But these are also two really skilled creators. And I don't think that, they've done some tone deaf things on Thrones, but I don't think they're so tone deaf that they're going to go into this and make it an abomination, something that people are going to be really appalled by. I think they'll do it in a tasteful way.
Right. And like, you got to remember, The Handmaid's Tale exists. That's a show where women are lesser than men. And that's definitely not a great feeling either in today's climate. So, and people like that show because it's actually really, really strong. So again,
dystopian.
It's going to be a while, but
shout out Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah, definitely. Reserve the judgment.
Absolutely. But Dave, what's your judgment on the movie Valerian? I did not see that movie, but I know you did. And I tell the people that they should see it.
I saw it after seeing Dunkirk, same day, with friend of the pod, Ryan Chin, who we also saw yesterday.
Shout out Ryan Chin.
And so I waited a few more hours, hung around, and went back into theater, saw Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets. As I talked about a few weeks ago, it's based off of the 1967 French comic Valerian and Laureline. It ran for many decades. Mm-hmm. And if you've been paying attention, you'll see that the box office domestically was very poor. 17 million opening weekend. The second weekend has passed. It's barely crossed 30 million in the US. So definitely a bomb, but it was an interesting movie because it was the most expensive independent film of all time, but $180 million production budget. And the story of how Luc Besson got this movie funded is actually really fascinating that I definitely recommend people check out. You can find that on a really cool Wired profile. But anyway, the movie I think is a lot of fun. It's really, really visually striking, really great to look at. And it is like a fun sci-fi movie. The world is actually really fascinating. I really wish they could have built on it more, but judging with his box office struggles, I don't think that's likely. Mm-hmm. A big part of that is Luc Besson is like a big visionary. Fifth Element comes to mind. Lucy with Scarlett Johansson as well. He has cool and unique ideas, but the Valerian script definitely was lacking. Some of the dialogue wasn't great, and also Dane DeHaan, the lead, alongside Cara Delevingne. Dane DeHaan is playing a Han Solo type who gets laid all across the galaxy, and I'm sorry, but Dane DeHaan is just not believable as that kind of character.
No, definitely not.
So he was a little miscast. He should have been in Dunkirk, if anything. Not like a would-be blockbuster. But overall, I think it was enjoyable, especially if you're a sci-fi fan. The movie is having a strong start in France, so it might not be the worst bomb ever, but unfortunately over here, talk of a sequel is probably a little late now. So I think it's fun. Definitely catch it like on demand or on a plane or something, because it's with the aliens, the idea. There's so much going on. It's just like like the visual palette of the Star Wars prequels, but today with better effects and so many aliens, and it is really, really cool to look at. But not everything's great about it.
You know, it's interesting. As you were talking about it, it kind of reminded me exactly of Ready Player One. I know that hasn't come out yet, but as you're talking about it and what we've seen from the trailer, it seems like it's going to be like a visually stunning movie, which might not have the best script or at least the best original work to play off of, knowing that people don't really like it.
Right.
But as you're talking, I feel like Ty Sheridan and Dane DeHaan should have like switched places, because I feel like for someone who's gonna be like in a video game the whole time, he could have probably been in Ready Player One, and then Ty Sheridan strikes him way more as a Han Solo type than he does.
Yeah, he's an X-Men, a Cyclops, so you could definitely see it. Also, I think the big takeaway for Valerian is that similar to John Carter with Taylor Kitsch and Jupiter Ascending with Channing Tatum and Mila Kunis, it is tough for original, sci-fi fare to succeed in the MCU. It's just not really possible.
It's tough.
And
it's tough for sure.
The box office struggles. It's just, you want to see just great, huge universe movie succeed, but when no one sees these movies, how many more of them are going to get made?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see moving forward. Something else that didn't land: Arcade Fire's new album, Everything Now. Did you get a chance to listen?
Hell no.
Have you listened to any of Arcade Fire's work?
I know that their third album won Album of the Year, 2011 Grammys, but did I listen to it? I did not.
So
it's like folk rock, or indie rock. Sorry, it's not really my style anyway, so I've never really sucked it out. But Win Butler, he wins Celebrity All-Star Game MVPs at All-Star Weekend, so I know that.
He's on that Jason Bay flow, man. So it's interesting. Arcade Fire, they're a really interesting band because they seem to have kind of risen to fame pretty quickly. Like, they came out with Funeral back in, what was it, 2004? And that was an album that caught people's attention. But then when The Suburbs came out, and then they followed up with Reflector, which those two albums they have like a similar through line in sound, but Reflector was a much more large, grandiose type of album.
James Murphy influence, right? Very dancey.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you heard their singles, Everything Now. I forgot what the second one was, but they sounded somewhat similar. Like they were incorporating more like ABBA disco sound to make it dancey. So I actually had pretty high hopes for this album going in. I was like, Arcade Fires, they're a good band. They usually have good producers working with them. This album felt very flat. It's really interesting because the name of the album is Everything Now, and I felt like they were trying to do way too much on this album. Not only were some of the content of the songs just like very strange and seemed kind of like off for what the rest of the message was, because a lot of it was about like a commentary on like connection, about how like the media and society influences things, but then also how like suicide plays into this in some way and how it affects your mood. But then they had this song called like Peter Pan right in the middle, which is about like not wanting to grow up and not wanting to die, and it's just very lame. And there's like no feeling behind it for something that's supposed to like Everything Now, that song alone I think is a very fun song, but the rest of the album, I guess other than maybe like Creature of Comfort, felt really short. Is really disappointing. Although I might have found a new intro song for us.
Oh, well, we'll stay tuned for that on our podcast services on iTunes.
It's a song, just to spoil it real quick, it's called Infinite Content, which I thought would be a good description of pretty much what we're doing every week on this podcast, giving our listeners infinite content. If you want our infinite content. Oh, stay plug-in. He knew where I was going with it. So if you don't have to listen to this Arcade Fire song or album, don't check it out. That'd be my recommendation.
Sounds like wise advice.
An album I really enjoyed, and surprisingly, Aminé.
Good for you.
Thank you. But it was also a good album.
Yeah, no,
No, so yeah, his album called Good for You. This is his first album.
Correct. Yeah, he was a double XL freshman.
I was very impressed with not only his sound, but I thought he had some pretty good bars in it.
Yeah, agreed.
What was your impression of it?
Yeah, it definitely had a unique rap song sound, and there's plenty of rap song people out right now, like a Chance, like a Drake, like even Future on Hendrix. Unfortunately, did a lot of singing. Ty Dolla $ign. There's a lot of people like this, right? But Aminé doesn't sound like any. I mean, he sounds like Aminé, which I think was very refreshing. He's not just another. He's not a SoundCloud rapper anyway, but he doesn't sound like any of those other generic SoundCloud rappers. He's an interesting story too. There's a good profile on or interview from New York Times about him that came out on release day, which was Friday. He's from Portland, Oregon, which does not have much of a rap scene, and he's also a pretty smart kid. He was already in college when he decided to. Well, he was always making music, but he was in college when Caroline took off. And Caroline, as you probably know, 3-time platinum hit, peaked at number 11. So that really put him on the map. That got him his record deal. But then he followed up with this record, which is really playful, really melodic, and like I said, it's got a unique sound. And I think there's a bunch of really enjoyable tracks on there, and it's definitely a really strong freshman effort.
Oh, dude, this was such a fun album to listen to while I was stuck in Boston traffic. I listened to it twice. And, the thing I think I really liked about it was it came out in July, and it's a perfect summer album. It's very fun, very flowy, and, we're going to talk about Vic Mensa in a second. Going from this album to that album back to back was like, dude, it was quite a trip because I was feeling so good after this Aminé album. Then I moved to Vic, and I was like, whoa. This shit is deep. So yeah, I would recommend this album.
That's not to say.
Go ahead.
That's not to say that Aminé isn't deep though. He does have some political lyrics, and he's pretty self-aware about how people like mispronounce his name and stuff like that. So
yeah, like on Hero for sure. But it was just like, I don't know. It was just such a fun album. I would probably put this on like if I was chilling at the beach or something like that with my friends.
What was your favorite song?
I mean, Caroline is just fucking undeniable. But to be honest, like near the end of the album, like I felt like Money, Beach Boy, and Heebie Jeebies all I was like really bumping to.
Yeah, so. Beach Boy, Heebie Jeebies really good. Red Mercedes also is cool. It has a really cool video where him and his friends put on white face and kind of flip around being stereotyped. So that's a cool video. But yeah, it seems like Aminé's got a good head on his shoulders.
Don't sleep on Aminé. Although I can't imagine anyone is after this.
No, don't think so.
But yeah, so you're a pretty big Vic Mensa guy, Dave. I saw a tweet that I think you retweeted it or quote tweeted saying Chance the Rapper is MLK and Vic Mensa is Malcolm X.
Yeah, it was from the DJ Booth review, and I thought that was like the perfect comp.
So help me understand that.
Well, so they're both childhood friends from Chicago. Always been repping Chicago. They used to kind of run the same Chicago clique, Save Money. So they've always, collaborated and they came up together and stuff. So that, naturally you always want to compare them. But where Chance always a very positive guy, right? And everyone loves his message, especially when he got a little righteous on Coloring Book, right? And Vic has always spoken out about the violence on South Side Chicago, just like Chance has, and police brutality. Vic talks about it all the time in interviews. He really likes talking about what matters, right? But if you listen to his album, the Autobiography, his debut album, you'll see that he's a lot more blunt and protesty about the same themes that Chance kind of, I guess, dances and preaches around,
Okay, so it's interesting. Hearing you say that, I think that makes a lot of sense because, Chance can definitely come across like you think about a song like Angels, where he's kind of talking about like the effect you can have on a city, but he's talking about it as like, there's all these people who are awesome and great influences. But then Vic really does like he gets into the muck of it. Like, what was it? I don't remember the exact song. It might have been Memories on 47th Street when he talks about like killing somebody, like, and then like seeing it on Instagram, and he didn't really want to do it, and like how he was dealing with it. It was like I was literally driving along, and I was like, "Yo, this is like, I need to like stop and think for a little bit because this is really hitting me hard." listen to
Yeah.
these lyrics.
And it's not just that he's also like really big worldview. It's also a really personal album. Like Vic really gets into having suicidal thoughts when he was struggling with drugs since his blow up and prior to this album being recorded. So I think that's really good because people talking about suicide is not very common in rap. Also, he has the one song where there's 3 verses. One is his verse about the death of one of his friends. One is the verse from his friend's perspective in heaven, and the third is the verse of his friend's killer. And you know, violence is a big topic in rap, especially gangster rap, right? But rarely do you see anyone trying to humanize or paint the full picture of a killer like that, you know? So overall, I think Vic Mensa really, I think it's really like kind of like achieved his full form ever since his Promise many years ago when everyone really got onto him. And it's great that he released a project that matches how he carries himself in interviews and what he likes to talk about.
I thought it was a good album. I didn't think it was a great album by any stretch. You know, I agree with all of your points. You know, he takes some unique perspectives. He worked with No ID, so like the production is pretty good on this. But some of the songs really just I thought were kind of corny, or I don't know. Like basically, that "Rolling Like a Stoner" is the most Kid Cudi knockoff song ever. And I listening to his interview with Micah Peters of The Ringer, he basically acknowledges that like, yeah, the song sounded way too Cudi-ish, so No ID was like, oh, you changed this up. I still was listening to this like, did Kid Cudi give him this song? Was he just like, yeah, you throw this on your next album? It sounded just like a Cudi song. Also, the Home Wrecker, the Wifey and the Home Wrecker, I was like, this song kind of, I don't know. It was interesting, but it's weird.
Meanwhile, OMG with Pusha T is a certified banger. So
yeah, oh, dude. That. Basically, the last like 3 songs, I was like jamming to. And I think that's when he gets the most meta on the album. You know, talk about like We Could Be Free, Rage, and then OMG to end it. I was like, it's solid way to wrap it up. I think he's got a ton of potential.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the point is that, yeah, I don't think it's an amazing album either. There's only a few songs I actually like to go back to, but the fact that he was taking risks, getting really lyrical, and also making a few songs that people want to bang their heads to, you know, I think it's a pretty solid debut. Especially for someone like him who clearly has had quite the journey in between coming up and actually getting his debut out there. So I'm pretty happy with it.
Well, something that I think we left with kind of mixed feelings on when we saw it, Atomic Blonde. So this is a movie by David Leitch. It's I think his second directorial. Yeah, he worked on John Wick, the first one, uncredited as a director, and then this is, I guess, technically would be his first credited directorial movie.
Right, and he'll also be directing Deadpool 2.
Which I saw that the tweet from the Nowstalgia account today. I was busy most of the day, but Domino, Zazie Beats, Jesus. Looking awesome. So hype. What I mean, I guess where do we start? What were the things that you really liked about this movie?
Yeah, so I think the appeal of Atomic Blonde, similar to a John Wick, is that it's a real original, or I think it's adapted from a novel, but more or less an original film creation. Like you need to catch all the references to the things being set up, right? We always talk about French fries fatigue and things like that. And even if there's an Atomic Blonde sequel going into it, just like Baby Driver, the appeal is that it's a lower stakes experience for the viewer. And Atomic Blonde in particular, I think the Jane Wick, Jane Bourne comps can be a little reductive, but they're also a way to make the elevator pitch, right? And in this case, having it be Charlize Theron, who's been on quite the, blockbuster kick with Huntsman and Mad Max and Fast 8. Charlize Theron being a spy at the end of the Cold War in Berlin, with James McAvoy as her, cohort.
Contact.
Right. It's I think it's appealing right off the bat. And then when David Leitch is involved, the action is going to be really personal, physical, and that's exactly what we got.
Yeah, the action scenes I thought were great. And one of the cool parts about it was you actually saw like some realism in the action scenes. I mean, there were parts like the beginning of the movie. That guy got hit by the car in the beginning. He somehow got hit by a car in his legs and flew upward, but not in like a regular way. Like he turned sideways and went up. I was like, that didn't really make sense. But I mean, it's a movie, so like you suspend some belief. But then you have that awesome kind of like one shot, similar to what Game of Thrones did with Jon Snow, Battle of Bastards scene where she's fighting in the stairwell and she gets tired, and so does the other guy. And I was like, you like never see action heroes actually get tired. And it really, I think, added to the fight scene in a great way.
Yeah, exactly. When you see someone get hit over the head with like, plates and pieces of wall and stuff, eventually the person getting hit's gonna take some damage. And seeing Lorraine and whoever she was fighting kind of both like reeling and barely getting off the ground and kind of waiting for someone else to make the move, to see that kind of action. And expect this to really. The appeal in general is just you want to watch Charlize Theron kick ass and just kind of a fun watch, because you shouldn't be going into this expecting like an amazing story or a killer script or anything like that.
Yeah, it was funny. I went on Wikipedia today just to do some quick research, get some quick notes, and I went to the plot section expecting it to just be question marks or something like that, but it was actually like 7 whole paragraphs explaining everything. And I was like, I caught maybe a third of this. I was like, I know that there's James McAvoy and Charlize Theron, and there's someone named Satchel, and yeah, that's about it. Like, let's just watch people fuck shit up. It was pretty awesome. What did you think of all the twists? I guess like pseudo spoiler. I don't know if we have to go too deep into it, but the ending was like twist after twist after twist.
It is a legitimately confusing movie to follow. I don't think that's hyperbolic at all. It's kind of the consensus at this point. Mm-hmm. And you just kind of, I think everyone's recommendation is just go with it and just have fun.
Right.
Because here's the thing. It's not like it's this amazing story that you're just too dumb to understand. It's kind of it's not a by the numbers spy story, but it's closer to that. So if it's a little confusing, don't worry about it. It doesn't really matter. Just enjoy the badassery of everyone involved. Right. Botella, she's coming up.
Oh, absolutely. She was great. It was funny as you're saying that, like, just enjoy it. Like, there's so many like kitschy lines and like, I don't know, like stupid dialogue in there. Like, I'm glad you told me because the next time it'll get me killed or something like that. It's like, okay, well, this is a little exaggerated, but the soundtrack was dope. No, the script is not the star, but the soundtrack was dope. The action scenes were awesome. And I think David Leitch is going to have a long career doing some fun action movies moving forward. Do you think that this will have a sequel?
Yes, I think so. It actually a little underperformed at the box office domestically, a little under 20. They projected 20, got like 17 or 18. But at the same time, I think a movie like this with a star power and this kind of positive reception, and the fact that it only costs $30 million to make, so it's not a bomb. It was a cheap movie. I think definitely warrants a sequel. And you can do anything with it as a sequel. You don't have to just follow up directly where it left off. So I think there's realms of possibility there. So it'll be interesting to follow that along. Charlize did help produce it, so she might be invested in making a sequel. Who knows if she wants to. But overall, I think it's definitely one of the, I won't say it's a surprise of the summer, but it's one of the better successes in a summer with a bunch of franchise movies underperforming.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like the reason it underperformed probably was because Girls Trip seemed to really steal the weekend.
It did.
And that's actually, I think, really good news because it feels like every comedy that's come out this summer has been a flop in a way. So to have a comedy that now people were high on to come out and it's kind of still in the zeitgeist in a way is really exciting. I'm definitely going to make time to go see that at some point.
Agreed, yeah. In a summer where Baywatch did bad, Girls Trip doing good is a good thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any last thoughts on Atomic Blonde before we wrap up for the show?
Yeah, just go see it. I think it's definitely worth seeing. A lot of stars in there, and we can't say it enough. The action is superb. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's worth seeing in a movie theater. I think just for like the scope and size of the movie.
We got to shout out our theater experience watching this. We had an into it crowd.
Yeah, it was funny because like, I mean, there's some some grotesque sex scenes, I guess we could say, and the crowd was really, I think, taken aback by that. Some people were very like into it, and some people found it very funny, which I thought was interesting as well.
They found a lot of people getting injured like hilarious.
Yeah,
and I was like, but then also when a few twists happened, you heard a bunch of like, oh shit.
Yeah. Albany crowd, always a mix. So
cross skates, man. We gotta know better next time.
So I think we're gonna wrap up there for this week. Next week, what do we got coming up?
Well, this week, hold on, I have
Killer's album should be coming out. They just announced that their album's gonna be called Wonder Wonder. So I feel like this is actually a pretty big album for the Killers. Their last one, I think it was, oh man, I don't remember the name of it. I remember it had the song Miss Atomic Blonde on there, or yeah, Miss Atomic Bomb. But other than that, I don't really remember the album, and that's why this is such a big album, because they're follow up to a non-memorable album for the Killers.
This Friday, Wet Hot American Summer 10 Years Later comes out on Netflix. That's the follow-up to First Day of Camp, the original prequel series that came on Netflix in summer 2015, and of course the Wet Hot movie from the early 2000s. So that should be fun because that's just got all those stars: Elizabeth Banks, Paul Rudd, Chris Maloney, Joe Truglio, etc.
What's the guy who played American Sniper? Is he still attached to this?
Bradley Cooper?
Yeah, he was in, I think, the first one. I don't remember if he did the Netflix series as well.
Is he? Actually, let's just check that.
At least I'm
also,
pretty sure he was.
Rick and Morty is back. If you want to speak to
that. I haven't been able to watch the new episodes yet. I will, because I'm a cord cutter. I was waiting for it to come out on Hulu, but I also have a job, and we record it after work, so I'm trying to catch up. I will touch more. I'll give my review of the episodes next week.
Why is Rick and Morty a Cartoon Network show worth checking out? A cartoon.
If you like Community, which I don't know, do you ever watch Community?
Some of it, yeah. Shout out Don Glover.
It's one of the smartest shows I think I've ever seen. And Rick and Morty, it's, we talked about BoJack Horseman last year. Rick and Morty falls into that category, but it's just funnier than BoJack is. It's intentionally funnier, but it still has meaning. And like Arrested Development or Community, it ties in jokes from episodes that happened 10, 11, 13 episodes ago, and they still have these running through lines. It's just it's pretty much a perfect I think animated series at this point. Underrated for sure.
Yeah, definitely a good recommendation. It's been almost 2 years since new episodes came out.
Also, Cage the Elephant came out with an album, which we're not going to listen to, but it's actually light on albums this upcoming week. No one big releasing an album, at least not that I see here online. The following week, though, Kesha dropping her new album. Shout out Kesha. And then, let's see. Following week, nothing really stands out.
Action Bronson's coming out soon, in a few weeks. Blue Chip 7000, new mixtape. Let me check when that's coming. So I'm excited for that because he's had a few singles that have been really good.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like we're kind of due for like a non-promoted drop at this point, especially because this August seems like a pretty light month in terms of like big albums. But Nine Inch Nails should also be dropping an album, and I think The War on Drugs as well. So rock albums are going to be coming out. Oh, it looks like Motorhead's also dropping an album in September, though, so we got some time. Same day as LCD Sound System.
Hey, Action's August 25th, so we got a few weeks for that. Also this week at the movies, Detroit from Catherine Bigelow, as well as The Dark Tower, which we've kind of buried already personally.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'll see Detroit eventually. I'll see eventually. So
that's a perfect Spectrum movie for sure.
Yeah. Little theater for you, those of you listening at home.
Absolutely. We're gonna wrap up, but follow our Twitter account at Nowstalgia Pod. Follow Dave's social media at Martin Swagger or at Dave Martinson if you want to go to his Instagram. He's got some,
Dave_Martinson.
Oh, underscore Martinson. I'm at Sheeny World Peace. Follow the all of our places to listen. SoundCloud.com/NowstalgiaPod. Rate, review on iTunes. Share with friends. Help us grow. We want
subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah, subscribe on YouTube. Right.
Yeah.
There.
Yep.
Somewhere. Hopefully, I got one of those places. Give us your thoughts on all the new music that's out right now. And
Confederate, are you in? Are you not in like most people? What do you think of the show?
Actually, before you go, Dave, real quick, Mahershala Ali, good or bad for True Detective season 3?
Good.
The GOAT.
Very good. Nick Pizzolatto,
yeah.
David Milch of Deadwood fame working together. So I'm very excited for True Detective. They're 1 for 2. So.
And apparently that Deadwood movie is actually moving forward too. So
apparently the script's done and really good.
Yeah.
Again, I'll believe it when I see it, but good to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely catch up on Deadwood if you haven't watched that. But give us a rating and review on iTunes. We really need those. We really want to hear from you guys, what we can improve on, what we could continue doing that you like. And if you have any feedback, any negative feedback, send it all to Dave because I don't really want to hear it. No, I do. Any last thoughts, Dave?
Just go see Tommy Blunt and listen to Aminé and Vic.
We love you guys. Bye.